Oh, we lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallow, hallow Yahuwah, for the King who is victorious. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallow, hallow Yahuwah, for the King who is victorious. Yahuwah is the awesome one, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can't lose, we always win, you're our champion. Oh, Yahuwah is the awesome one, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can't lose, we always win, you're our champion. Oh, we lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallow, hallow Yahuwah, for the King who is victorious. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallow, hallow Yahuwah, for the King who is victorious. Yahuwah is the awesome one, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can't lose, we always win, you're our champion. Oh, Yahuwah is the awesome one, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can't lose, we always win, you're our champion. Oh, we lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallow, hallow Yahuwah, for the King who is victorious. Yahuwah is the awesome one, and there is none like you. With you we win, You're our champion. The king we came to, we always win. You're our champion. Oh. I lift my hands in total adoration unto you. You reign on the throne, for you are Yahuwah alone. Because of you, my cloudy days are gone. I can sing to you this song. I just wanna say that I love you more than anything. I lift my hands in total adoration unto you. You reign on the throne, for you are Yahuwah alone. Because of you, my cloudy days are gone. I can sing to you this song. I just wanna say that I love you more than anything. I lift my hands in total adoration unto you. You reign on the throne, for you are Yahuwah alone. Because of you, my cloudy days are gone. I can sing to you this song. I just wanna say that I love you more than anything. I love you, Yahuwah. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, Yahuwah, I love you more than anything. I love you, Yahuwah. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, Yahuwah, I love you more than anything. I lift my hands in total adoration unto you. You reign on the throne, for you are Yahuwah alone. Because of you, my cloudy days are gone. I can sing to you this song. I just wanna say that I love you more than anything. I lift my hands in total adoration unto you. You reign on the throne. just wanna say that I have you more than anything. I have Yahuwah, I Yahweh Yahuwah. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, Yahuwah, I have you more than anything. I have Yahuwah, Yahweh Yahuwah. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, Yahuwah, I have you more than anything. I have Yahuwah, Yahweh Yahuwah. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, Yahuwah, I have you more than anything. I lift my hands in total adoration unto you. You reign on the throne, for you are Yahuwah alone. Because of you, my cloudy days are gone. I can sing to you this song. I just wanna say that I have you more than anything. I lift my hands in total adoration unto you. You reign on the throne, for you are Yahuwah alone. Because of you, my cloudy days are gone. I can sing to you this song. I just wanna say that I have you more than anything. I have Yahuwah, I Yahweh Yahuwah. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, Yahuwah, I have you more than anything. I have Yahuwah, I Yahweh Yahuwah. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, Yahuwah, I have you more than anything. I have Yahuwah, Yahweh Yahuwah. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, Yahuwah, I have you more than anything. I have Yahuwah, Yahweh Yahuwah. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, Yahuwah, I have you more than anything. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. For great power. We sing the highest praise to you. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Believe I'll testify while I have a chance. Believe I'll testify while I have a chance. Believe I'll testify while I have a chance. 'Cause I may not have this chance anymore. Testify, believe I'll testify while I have a chance. Believe I'll testify while I have a chance. Believe I'll testify while I have a chance. 'Cause I may not have this chance anymore. Study the Torah. Believe I'll study the Torah while I have a chance. Believe I'll study the Torah while I have a chance. Believe I'll study the Torah while I have a chance. 'Cause I may not have this chance anymore. Study the Torah. Believe I'll study the Torah while I have a chance. Believe I'll study the Torah while I have a chance. Believe I'll study the Torah while I have a chance. 'Cause I may not have this chance anymore. Clap my hands. Believe I'll clap my hands while I have a chance. Believe I'll clap my hands while I have a chance. Believe I'll clap my hands while I have a chance. 'Cause I may not have this chance anymore. Sing my song. Believe I'll sing my song while I have a chance. Believe I'll sing my song while I have a chance. 'Cause I may not have this chance anymore. Sing my song. Believe I'll sing my song while I have a chance. Believe I'll sing my song while I have a chance. Believe I'll sing my song while I have a chance. 'Cause I may not have this 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 chance anymore. Testify, believe I'll testify while I have a chance. Believe I'll testify I'll do my dance while I have a chance. Believe I'll do my dance while I have a chance. Believe I'll do my dance while I have a chance. 'Cause I may not have this chance anymore. Do my dance. Believe I'll do my dance while I have a chance. Believe I'll do my dance while I have a chance. Believe I'll do my dance while I have a chance. 'Cause I may not have this chance anymore. Believe I'll have my neighbor while I have a chance. Believe I'll have my neighbor while I have a chance. Believe I'll have my neighbor while I have a chance. 'Cause I may not have this chance anymore. Believe I'll have my neighbor while I have a chance. Believe I'll have my neighbor while I have a chance. Believe I'll have my neighbor while I have a chance. 'Cause I may not have this chance anymore. Believe I'll have my neighbor while I have a chance. Believe I'll have my neighbor while I have a chance. Believe I'll have my neighbor while I have a chance. 'Cause I may not have this chance anymore. Believe I'll run on while I have a chance. Believe I'll run on while I have a chance. Believe I'll run on while I have a chance. 'Cause I may not have this chance anymore. Run on. Believe I'll run on while I have a chance. Believe I'll run on while I have a chance. Believe I'll run on while I have a chance. 'Cause I may not have this 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 chance. 'Cause I may not want this chance anymore. Testify, believe I'll testify while I have a chance. Believe I'll testify while I have a chance. Believe I'll testify while I have a chance. 'Cause I may not have this chance anymore. Testify, believe I'll testify while I have a chance. Believe I'll testify while I have a chance. Believe I'll testify while I have a chance. 'Cause I may not have this chance anymore. Shout, believe I'll shout while I have a chance. Believe I'll shout while I have a chance. Believe I'll shout while I have a chance. 'Cause I may not have this chance anymore. Shout, believe I'll shout while I have a chance. Believe I'll shout while I have a chance. Believe I'll shout while I have a chance. 'Cause I may not have this chance anymore. Testify, believe I'll testify while I have a chance. Believe I'll testify while I have a chance. Believe I'll testify while I have a chance. 'Cause I may not have this chance anymore. Testify, believe I'll testify while I have a chance. Believe I'll testify while I have a chance. Believe I'll testify while I have a chance. 'Cause I may not have this chance
hands together. Let's magnify our King. How many of you believe that you'll testify while you have this chance and have this opportunity to give your testimony? Hallelujah. We can magnify our honor and our King, our Savior, for all that He has done, all that He is doing, and all that He is yet going to do. It is now time for our declaration, a time when we come to voice check the atmosphere. The first voices that you hear will be a portion of the praise team, and I will be immediately phone take us into a time of declaration.
Listen here, have you ever heard this name? I know He washed me clean, white as snow. If you have salvation, then you know you will be clean. You'll be cleansed with the Spirit. Have you ever heard of this name? Name that starts with Y and ends with A. Goes like this: Yahush, yeah. Oh, His name is Yahush. His name is Yahush, yeah. Yeah. Yahush, sweet Yahush. Listen here, have you ever heard this name? I know He washed me clean, white as snow. If you have salvation, then you know you will be clean. You'll be cleansed with the Spirit. Have you ever heard of this name? Name that starts with Y and ends with A. Goes like this: Yahush, yeah. Oh, His name is Yahush. His name is Yahush, yeah. Yeah. Yahush, sweet Yahush. Listen here, have you ever heard this name? I know He washed me clean, white as snow. If you have salvation, then you know you will be clean. You'll be cleansed with the Spirit. Have you ever heard of this name? Name that starts with Y and ends with A. Goes like this: Yahush, yeah. Oh, His name is Yahush. His name is Yahush, yeah. Yeah. Yahush, sweet Yahush. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hallelujah. We magnify God. As it is now time for our declaration, a time when we come to voice check the atmosphere, I ask everyone to repeat after me. And if any of you has stuck around for that last song prior to this, was said, "Believe I'll testify while I have a chance." Hallelujah. Again, we as the people of you who have a reason to testify, we have a lot to say because we truly have an awesome foundation to stand on and an awesome Savior.
I declare
That upon the Torah
I
will stand.
will stand.
For it is
For it is
the guide
the time
for my life
for my life
my prosperity,
my
family, and my living. My Abba gave it to me, and I will adhere to this foundation. And upon it will I stand and be Baruch of Abba Yehu. Satan, you defeated, your darkness is scattered, and Yahushua is sovereign. And it is so. And we really do esteem him, and we lift him up during this time. Hallelujah. It is an awesome time. Hallelujah. To be in this place so we can walk with each and every one of you. As we proceed to move forward, it is now time for us to bring seed unto our King. And as we prepare to do so, everything we do according to his writings and set apart written in his word. But even as it says in the book of Genesis, that as long as the earth remains, there remains seed time and harvest. Luke 6:38 says that when we give, it shall be given unto us good measure. Pressed down, shaken together, and running over, shall be our cause men to give into our bosom. Malachi declares when we are obedient in our tithes, and he will open unto us the windows of Shemayim and pour us out of the roof, and there shall not be room enough to receive it. He will rebuke the devourer for our sake, and neither shall our vine cast forth her fruit before the time in the field, says the sovereign of hosts. He lets us know in the book of 2 Corinthians 9 that our house is a cheerful giver. He gives seed to the sower, bread for our food, and he multiplies our seed sown and increases the fruits of our righteousness, that we may abound unto every great work. Amos comes full circle to let us know that the time is coming, and now is, when the reaper shall overtake the sower. So as we come preparing to sow our seed, we know and understand that not only is it seed time, but what time is it? Harvest time. What time is it? Harvest time. It truly is harvest time. We be magnified in our. And for those of you that are dealing remotely, if you desire to sow seed into great ground, into prosperous ground, and into a phenomenal work that is doing great things in the kingdom, then please feel free to do so. We do welcome you. If you prefer to use PayPal as your medium of giving, communicate with us, send us your information via us, and we'll send you the link and correspond accordingly. For those of you that prefer to use the Cash App, we also have that option available. Send that as well. And for those of you that prefer to use snail mail, if you want to send your donations or how to support, you can send them to P.O. Box 381, Columbia, South Carolina 29202. That is P.O. Box 381, Columbia, South Carolina 29202. We do magnify, we do thank God for each and every one of you for your generous donations of harvest support. For those of you that already support this work, again, we do magnify the offer for you, and may He will you mightily, because you make ministry happen, and it is so. It is so. that come from where you are, bringing seed unto our land. Let us go by seed unto our King. Torah of you, Lord, for your provision for us and for you always providing for us that we never suffer lack nor want. Torah, Abba, that you give unto us that we may give and sow seed into the kingdom, that you may work us mightily according to your Torah. And Abba, we do magnify you for each and every one that is sown seed into this work. Abba, that you will root them mightily for their donations of a heart of support. And Abba, we do magnify you for you said that it was willing and obedient that we should eat the fatness of this land. And according to your set apart writ, as we believe that it is so, and it is so, according to the name of Yahushua Mashiach, and it is so. And it is so. Come on, put your hands together, let's magnify the Truly do magnify him for all that he has done, all that he's doing, and all that he is yet going to do. Hallelujah. And the question is asked, how do we know what it is that he is going to do? How do we know what he has done? What is our expectation of him to come from? Well, I am so glad that you asked. He has not left us out there without instruction. He has not left us out there to wander, to make it up as we go along. But he has given us his writings. He's given us his Torah. He's given us his word. So without further ado, it gives me tremendous esteem to bring to your forefront one who is a true teacher, preacher, and preacher. One who is able to break down the scriptures and the writings to the least common denominator so that even a fool can understand and not err. Allah Yahuwah, so we do magnify the hour for that. Allah Yahuwah, and hope you're tuned in. And so we do magnify him as we prepare on getting out your way. And I'm preparing to bring to your forefront one who is a dynamic and a phenomenal teacher. And to bring forth the writings of our Abba. And I'm excited to see what he is going to say unto us tonight through his dynamic vessel. So without further ado, let us put our hands together and receive none other than our very own, the senior pastor of Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom, your great belief congregation, none other than our very own Quam Yasheral. Put your hands together. She comes to bring the lesson of life.
Let's worship him. Come on, let's worship him. Come on, let's worship him. Come on, he's worthy, he's worthy, he's worthy. Come on, let's worship him, let's worship him. Come on, Yahuwah. Come on, let's worship him, let's worship him. Come on, let's worship him. Come on, Yahuwah. Come on, wonderful. Come on, he's wonderful. Wonderful. Yahuwah. That is the only light that we need. That is the only light that is a guarantee unto us. It is the only light that is not a false light. It is the only light that is not mimicking another light. So we gladly receive your truth. We gladly embrace you bringing us into this truth. As we're gathered here together on this Layla, we ask our Yahweh that you would rebuke us and that you would impart into us impartation that brings about a transformation. From the crown of our heads to the sole of our feet, and from the sole of our feet to the crown of our heads. We ask Father Yahweh and everything that's in between, that you would bring us to a place of fruitfulness in our learning. That we will not be, as the writings say, ever learning, but never coming into the knowledge of the truth of your instructions. Help us not to look as though with veiled faces or veiled hearts, but help us to receive your instructions with intelligence and with understanding. That we may operate and that we may execute that which you have given unto us, your people. We esteem you this Layla for all that you're doing, all that you've done, and all that you're yet going to do. We ask our Yahweh that you have your way in this class as we yield ourselves unto you on this Layla in the mighty name of Yahushua Mashiach. After this so, come on, put your hands together. Come on. He's worthy, he's worthy, he's worthy. You're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy. Come on. Nobody can praise you. Yes, he is. He's worthy of all praise, worthy of all esteem. He's worthy of your time. He's worthy of my time. He's just worthy. And we should never forget that. And we should never try to equate things and material things to merit his worth. He's worthy because he yet lives. And because he lives, and not just lives, but he lives on the inside of us. Life is worth the living just because our Savior does live. He is not here to yawn and gone tomorrow. He is here forevermore. He is the ancient of Yamim. He is our life source. And we don't need anybody but him. And when I say that, let me make it perfectly clear. When I say him, I'm talking about everything that is attached to him. Because in him, we know the Mashiach is. In him, we know that the Ruach HaKodesh is in him. In him, we have life and that more abundantly. And because of him, we are able to live. We're able to tread upon water. We're able to tread upon trials and tribulations and not allow them to tread upon us. We're able to rise and do what we need to do. It is because of him that we can stand and praise like we do. I want to encourage your hearts on today, God, to be steadfast and unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Abba. Know that your labor is not in vain in him. Your praise. There was a song that the Clarksons used to sing, and we used to listen to all the time. Is my labor in vain? Is my singing in vain? Is my witnessing in vain? Is my living in Torah truth in vain? Of course not. Because not of the road, but right here and now is eternal gain. We gain life by walking in truth and walking in his instructions. So I pray that on this Layla, you will remain committed and encouraged and not allow yourself to become overwhelmed with the things of this world. That you will continue to follow in the principles and the instructions of the hour that he has left for us in his will and testament through the Mashiach, through the covenant, the renewed covenant. Not a new covenant, but the covenant that was built upon different and better conditions. Does that mean we stop doing what we do? Absolutely not. It means that we're able to do what our ancestors and forefathers could not do. But now we are able and equipped to do it. And we willingly endure and do it. So I want to encourage you to continue to keep on keeping on in truth, not in your own volition and in your own will and in your own strength and knowledge, but in the strength and the knowledge that he's given unto us. Everything that he's given unto us, he loaned it unto us, or he lent it unto us. None of us have exclusive right to it. Now we as a nation do. We have exclusive rights as a nation. But as individuals, we do not have exclusive rights on it. But we do have a right to it. And watch this, it has a right to us. And it is so. And it is so. And it is so. At this time, we're going to do the Baruch of the Torah. And then from the Baruch of the Torah, we're going to have the Ten Commandments read by Malachias. Very important that we always keep our foundation and always be mindful of what it is that we have been commissioned and called to do, and never once again allow ourselves to be overwhelmed with the cares of this life or the things that we hear. But we're constantly hearing things. If you are one that all you have to do is be plugged into the social media, and you're going to hear something. And it's bad, but the majority of the time we always hear negative, more negative than we do positive. And so it is important that we strain what we hear. We strain it with the cheese strainer. Why? Because that is the one that makes sure nothing gets through, nothing but the juices, nothing but the essence of what is important unto our lives, for the equipping and the building of us as a people, as a nation. And so I want to encourage you once again, keep your head up and keep your shoulders squared and keep your heart and your feet in and upon the Torah, because we can't go wrong when we do these things. And it is so. And it is so. And it is so. All right, we're going to do the Baruch of the Torah. Repeat with me, Baruch Yahuwah.
Baruch Yahuwah.
The Baruch one.
The Baruch.
Baruch is Yahuwah.
Baruch is Yahuwah.
The Baruch one.
The Baruch.
For all eternity.
For all eternity.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Our supreme one.
Our supreme.
King of the universe.
King of the universe.
Who selected us from all the peoples.
Who selected us from all the peoples.
And gave us his Torah.
He gave us his Torah.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Give of the Torah.
Give of the Torah.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Our supreme one.
Our supreme.
King of the universe.
King of the universe.
Who gave us the Torah of truth.
Who gave us the Torah of truth.
And implanted eternal life within us.
And implanted eternal life within us.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Give of the Torah.
Give of the Torah.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Now we have the reading of the Ten Commandments done by Quam Yasheral, and it is so.
It is so.
Leviticus 5:6-22. Aleph. I am Yahuwah, your power, which brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim from the bed of slavery. Bed you shall have no other power before. You shall not make you any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in Shemayim above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the mind beneath the earth. You shall not bow down yourself unto them, nor serve them, for I, Yahuwah, your power, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the Abbas upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that are hot me and keep my commandments. Gimel. You shall not take the name of Yahuwah your power and falsify it, for Yahuwah will not hold him guiltless that takes his name in iniquity. Dalet. Guard the Sabbath day to set it apart, as Yahuwah your power has commanded you. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahuwah your power. In it you shall not do any work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your manservant, nor your maidservant, nor your ox, nor your ass, nor any of your cattle, nor your foreigner that is within your gates, that your manservant and your maidservant may rest as well as you. And remember that you were a servant in the land of Mitzrayim, and that Yahuwah your power brought you out of there through a mighty hand and by your stretched out arm. Therefore Yahuwah your power commanded you to keep the Sabbath day. Hey, esteem your Abba and your Ima as Yahuwah your power has commanded you, that your days may be prolonged and that it may go well with you in the land which Yahuwah your power is about to give you. One, you shall not murder. Zain, neither shall you commit adultery. Ket, neither shall you steal. Tet, neither shall you bear false witness against your neighbor. You, neither shall you desire your neighbor's issue, neither shall you covet your neighbor's bed, his field, or his manservant, or his maidservant, his ox, or his ass, or anything that is your neighbor's. These words Yahuwah spoke unto all your assembly in the mount, out of the midst of the fire, of the cloud, and of the thick darkness with a great voice. And he added no more. And he wrote them in 2 tables of stone and delivered them unto me. And it is so.
And it is so. Leviticus chapter 6, verses 1-18. And it reads, these are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments which Yahuwah your power commanded to teach you, that you might do them in the land where you're going to enter and possess it, that you might fear Yahuwah your power to keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command you, you and your son and your grandson, all the yamim of your life, and that your yamim may be prolonged. Hear therefore, O Yasheral, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily as Yahuwah power of your Abbas has promised you in the land that flows with milk and honey. Shema Yasheral, Yahuwah our power. Yahuwah is Akkad. Hear, O Yasheral, Yahuwah, our Supreme One, Yahuwah is a God. And you shall help Yahuwah, your Supreme One, with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. And these words which I command you this yom shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your bed, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes, to fall to what?
Bind to the mind.
To bind to the mind. This is where they get the phylacteries from this verse here. It is not something you bind on your hand literally, but to bind it upon your hand means that you never pull your hand away from studying, that you never pull your hand away from engaging in the things that bring about growth and maturity concerning the Torah. It is important that we understand that unless we give Torah access to our mind, it'll just be just a thing that we look at as a symbol. It really will not have importance to us. And this is why it is so important that we, as the children of Yasheral, always find our hands applying the Torah to our lives. It's very important that we understand that. And so I wanted to bring that out so that we could understand the meaning of that. That's just how important it is for us to engage in studying and in taking that time to commune with the Abba. And it is so.
And it is so.
And you shall write them upon the posts of your bayeth and on your gates. And it shall be when Yahuwah your power shall have brought you into the land which he swore to your fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Yaakov, to give you great cities which you did not build, houses full of all great things which you filled not, and wells dug which you did not dig, vineyards and olive trees which you did not plant. When you shall have eaten and be full, then beware. Somebody say beware.
Beware.
Lest you forget Yahuwah which brought you forth out of the land of Mitzrayim from the bayeth of slavery. You shall fear Yahuwah your power and serve him and shall swear by his name. You shall not go after the power of the people which are round about you. Keep that verse in mind always. For Yahuwah your power is a jealous power among you, lest the anger of Yahuwah your power be kindled against you, and he destroy you from off the face of the earth. You shall not tempt Yahuwah your power as you tempted him in Massah. You shall diligently keep the commandments of Yahuwah your power and his testimonies and his statutes, which he has commanded you. And you shall do that which is right in the sight of Yahuwah, that it may be well with you, and that you may go in and possess the great land which Yahuwah swore to your fathers. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Now, as we turn our attention to Yahush, the son of Nun, that we may confess our belief, and as such, not just confess, but promise, make a vow to the Abba that we will maintain this way of life, and that we will not be afraid to walk in it, in spite of what others may fear and how they may engage. We will not fear to engage and to walk in the truth and the principles that the Abba has set forth for us as people. And it is so.
And it is so.
Verse 7 says, only be you strong and very courageous, that you may observe to do according to all the Torah which Moshe my servant commanded you. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that you may prosper wherever you go. Verse 8, as I have tailored to fit our time of confession. Repeat with me. I will not let this scroll of the Torah depart out of my mouth. But I shall meditate in it. Yom and Layla. That I may observe to do. According to all that is written in it. But then I shall make my way prosperous. And then I shall act wisely. Now look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, you shall act wisely. And you shall act wisely. Look at your other neighbor and tell your other neighbor, you shall act wisely. And you shall act wisely. Look at your other neighbor and tell your other neighbor, you shall act wisely.
You shall act wisely.
Now take your hand and place it over your heart and say, Abba Yahuwah,
Abba Yahuwah,
I shall act wisely.
I shall act wisely.
Come on, Abba Yahuwah,
Abba Yahuwah,
I shall act wisely.
I shall act wisely.
Come on, Abba Yahuwah,
Abba Yahuwah,
I shall act wisely.
I shall act wisely.
I endeavor
I endeavor
to act wisely.
to act wisely.
I endeavor
I endeavor
to act wisely.
to act wisely.
Come on, I endeavor
I endeavor
to act wisely.
to act wisely.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. It is my endeavor and it is my motivation. Every young man and every layla to act wisely. And it is so.
And it is so.
33 and 4. The Ruach of Yahuwah have made me, and the breath of the Almighty have given me life. And it is so.
And it is so.
Mishlei 15 and 8. 15 and 8. The sacrifice of the wicked is abomination, hateful, and exceedingly offensive unto you, Yahuwah. But the prayer of the upright, it is your delight. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Tehillim 1 and 1. Baruch is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the unrighteous, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the instructions of the Yahweh, and he doth meditate upon it. And it is so.
And it is so.
Hebrews 11 and 6. But without belief it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to Yahuwah must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. It takes belief to be odd, obedient, diligent, and disciplined. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Yehukanan, Aleph 5, 3 to 15. And it is so.
And it is so.
For this is the Ahab for Yahuwah, that we guard his commands, and his commands are not difficult. Because everyone having been begotten of Yahuwah overcomes the world. And this is the overcoming that has overcome the world, our belief. Who is the one who overcomes the world but he who believes that Yahush is the son of Yahuwah? This is the one that came by water and blood, Yahush Mashiach. Not only by water, but by water and blood. And it is the Ruach who bears witness, because the Ruach is the truth. Because there are three who bear witness, the Ruach and the water and the blood. And the three are in agreement. If we receive the witness of men, the witness of Yahuwah is greater. Because this is the witness of Yahuwah which he has witnessed concerning his son. The one who believes in the son of Yahuwah has the witness in himself. The one who does not believe Yahuwah has made him a liar, because he has not believed the witness that Yahuwah has given concerning his son. And this is the witness that Yahuwah has given us eternal life. And this life is in his son. He who possesses the son possesses life. He who does not possess the son of Yahuwah does not possess life. I have written this to you who believe in the name of the Son of Yahuwah, so that you know that you possess, possess everlasting life, and so that you believe in the name of the Son of Yahuwah. And this is the boldness that we have in him, that if we ask whatever according to his desire, he hears us. And if we know that he hears us, whatever we ask, we know that we have the petitions that we have asked of him. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Come on, put your hands together. As we do our affirmations, we want to truly remember, this is a platform and a foundation for our development and our growth. That we will be able to develop and grow no matter what the conditions are around us, because we are planted in the soil of Abba Yahuwah, which is Yahush Mashiach. So it doesn't matter what's going on around us, as long as that does not get in us. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Very important for us to understand and hold fast to. read this, repeat this with me. I purpose to develop my ruach.
I purpose to develop my ruach.
I purpose to walk in the light of Torah.
I purpose to walk in the light of Torah.
I am Ibram.
I am Ibram.
I am born again.
I am born again.
I am Ibram.
I am Ibram.
I have the life and nature of Yahuwah.
I have the life and nature of Yahuwah.
In my ruach.
In my ruach.
That life is the Torah.
That life is the Torah
Of Yasheral.
of Yasheral.
I purpose to walk.
I purpose to walk
In the Torah of life.
in the Torah of life.
Yahuwah's
Yahuwah's
Torah.
Torah.
Yahush
Yahush
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's knowledge
Yahuwah's knowledge
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's ahab
Yahuwah's ahab
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's power
Yahuwah's power
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's wisdom
Yahuwah's wisdom
is in me.
is in me.
He is teaching me.
He is teaching
He
me.
is leading me.
He is leading me.
I am a child of Yahuwah.
I am a child of Yahuwah.
The Ruach
The Ruach
HaKodesh
HaKodesh
of Yahuwah
of Yahuwah
in me is leading me.
in me is leading.
I'll follow her leading.
I'll follow her leading.
I'll walk in the Torah.
I'll walk in the Torah.
Yahush,
Yahush
our Mashiach.
our Mashiach.
And it is so.
And it is so.
As we read our declaration, it is something that I take truly to heart. And it is not just something that we recite just to recite it, but it is something that we pray that the Abba will baruch us to walk in
That's right.
as a nation of people that's governed by his instructions and covered by Yahush, our Mashiach. And it is so.
And it is so.
Repeat with me, Abba Yahuwah,
I'll be Yahuwah
in the name of Yahush,
in the name of Yahush
our Mashiach.
our Mashiach.
We subdue
We subdue
ignorance
ignorance
with Torah knowledge.
with Torah knowledge.
And through this knowledge
And through this
of
knowledge
Torah truth,
of Torah truth,
we claim healing,
we claim healing,
shalom,
shalom,
deliverance,
deliverance,
and salvation.
and salvation.
We decree
We decree
Torah truth
Torah truth
in the lives
in the lives
of your people,
of your people,
our people,
our people.
Yasheral.
Yasheral.
We unite
We unite
not to fight,
not to fight,
not to fight
not to fight
each other,
each other,
each other,
each other,
but the enemy
but the enemy
of our belief.
of our belief.
And it is so.
And it is so.
We must come to a place and point in our lives that we understand we are not one another's enemies. And that if you've been watching what's been going on after the death of that young man, talking about the Crips and the Bloods, have united because of what he has done, and they want to try to keep his legacy going on. Now you must understand, if they can do that, put down their rags, their flags, and unite, and we have a greater medium, or we have a greater covering, and we have a greater purpose between us, then what's stopping us from uniting truthfully? What is stopping us from coming together? I'm not talking about just 2 or 3 tribes. I'm talking about tribes. I'm talking about the tribe of Simeon. I'm talking about the tribe of Reuben. I'm talking about the tribe of Dan. I'm talking about the tribe of Ephraim. I'm talking about all the 12 tribes. And we all come together. And we begin to show the people, the nations, that we know who we are. And because we know who we are bound by this one common goal. And that is to walk in complete and total compliance to his instructions for our lives. This is what is important, because this is the glue that binds us. Now you must understand, when I say his Torah, you must understand I'm also talking about the Torah made flesh, which is Yahush, our Mashiach. And when we come to understand that he is the glue, and he is the foundation on which we stand on and which we build, then we'll be able to truly come together as a force unstoppable. Or shall I say a nation that is unstoppable. A nation that will not be laughed and clowned, but a nation of people where they will recognize who we are. And not say that we are just some people that are trying to mimic those that have stolen our identity, but that we are truly the true people. It's time to put away excuses. It's time to put away those things and stop making excuses and begin to rise up, Quam Yasheral, and do what he has purposed and called us to do. And that is unite. Unite not to fight each other, but the enemy of our belief. And how do we do that? Through the instructions that the Abba has given us. That is how we do it. And through intelligence. Because the Torah doesn't make us ignorant, it makes us more intelligent. And for those that are not intelligent, it will create or cause you to be intelligent. Are y'all following?
Yes.
Very important. As we bow before our King, let us recite this together. Repeat with me. May the utterance of my mouth,
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart,
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable before you.
be desirable before you.
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
my Ra,
my rock
and my Redeemer.
and my redeemer.
May the utterance of my mouth
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable before you.
be desirable before you.
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
my Ra,
my rock
and my Redeemer.
and my redeemer.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. We have just recited Tehillim 19 and 14. And it is so.
And it is so.
You may be seated in His presence as we prepare to move forward in this our time. Very important that we understand some things. In my study time, just looking at and in prayer, praying about where we are and some of the things that are important unto us as a people, and where do we need to focus some of us our time and our energy. And when I mean that, I'm talking about what are you investing in? What is it that you are taking time to truly invest in? It's important that we really take a look at that because so many times we find ourselves investing in the wrong thing. And it's the truth. I want us to turn our attention, and I'm going to let's go to Debitum. We're going to go to Debitum chapter 6. And we're going to use verse 14. We have other verses we're going to go over, but we're going to use verse 14 as a platform for us to continue to build upon. It's very important that we as a people do not adopt the people that are around us ways. And we have done that, and we continue to do it. Chapter 6, verse 14. We have done that, and we have done it in so many ways. You have to remember what Rabbi Shaul said. He said that the Abba would not have us ignorant concerning the devices of Shaitan. Now, you have to understand one of the things that we as a people have, and that's what? Knowledge. Because remember, the saying is, knowledge is what? Power. And so in order for us to be people of power, we always equate that knowledge is going to always be above everything else. Well, the problem comes in is what we have to see what the writings tell us about where do we get our power from? Who is our power source? Who is and what is our power source? And so it's very important for us to understand this. I know to Layla, I'm going to step on some toes, and that's fine because that's what I'm here to do, to bring corrections to things that are out of alignment, to things and to precepts and things that we have grabbed a hold of and accepted as truth, which is not true. And so it is important that we understand that the Abba is preparing us. But if we're not ready, then how can we move? Now, you must understand when the children of Yasheral, our ancestors and forefathers, when they transitioned from Mitzrayim, we already knew, the Abba already knew the condition that they would be in. Now, the condition of us, we have no excuse except we willfully walk in ignorance after we have been exposed and told about truth. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
So it is important that we understand that this is the timing that we are to get it right. There was T-Bone who sung a song in Christianity, and he was talking about the rapture, which we know that there is no rapture. But you must understand that the Abba is coming back for a people, and he's coming back for us as his people. And we want to be ready, because there is punishment for those that do not live right and do not follow in his instructions. So it is very important that we understand certain things, and there are things that we are not to gravitate to. And if we have, then be quickly to loose those things and not hold on to them as being a part of our lifestyle. Once again, you have to understand, generations and generations have gone by, and many of things our people adopted, and we just took it as being truth because it has been interwoven into what we have. So we're going to look at, once again, Devarim chapter 6, and we're going to look at verse 14. And he tells us, you shall not go after other power of the people which are round about you. Are you following me?
Yes.
Why is he giving them these instructions? Because he understood that they were a people and that we are a people, because the same blood and DNA that ran through their veins runs through ours. We are a people that desire to know and have a higher knowledge and a higher power. So we're always searching for that one thing that gives us that extra edge. We're always searching, trying to grab that one more, that one more paper or what have you, to give us that extra knowledge and to give us that extra boost, when we've already been forewarned to be careful. And so on to Layla, we're going to look at some things. We're going to look at Kabbalah. We're going to look at, first of all, Kabbalah, which is going to take us into some other things. Many people, as I looked on this Yom, many people regard it as being just a truth. But let me tell you something. There are some underlying diabolical, unorthodox, unrighteous stuff that is underneath the Kabbalah. And so it is important that we understand. And we're going to be looking at what is Kabbalah, because our theme or our foundation of what we'll be talking about is Kabbalah esoteric forces. Kabbalah, tree of life, 7 chakras, yoking with serpents, Kundalini yoga, the mysticism of rabbinic Judaism. So what we're going to be looking at in this teaching series, as the Abba would allow me to move forward in it, is the mysticism of rabbinic Judaism. Now you have to understand something. When we talk about Judaism, many times people just think that's talking about the Talmud. No, it goes a little deeper than just the Talmud. It is also talking about how they exploited certain things and how they went into many of things. Are you following me?
Yes.
All right. Now, I have a couple of things I will look at, but we're going to look at what the Kabbalah is. We're going to look at the definition of the Kabbalah. All right. Now, many of you probably have heard, once again, a term, the Sephirotic tree. Because even in the Abrahamic covenant writings, he speaks highly of the Sephirotic tree because he falls under Judaism. And a lot of things, as I said before, have been interwoven and we have synchronized it, or syncretism is involved in it, where we take one theory and we take it and we apply it and we just make it one big theory and say, okay, this sounds right. This is what the Father said do, and this is their teachings, and so this is what we're going to follow because they said do it. Well, we need to understand everything that the Pharisees and the Sadducees did, and even the high priest did, especially when they were outside of truth. Abba Yahuwah through Yahushua Mashiach rebuked them, and he corrected them. And so it is important that we understand that this is not a game and that this is serious business. All right, I'm going to read it probably from 2 different points of views. And the reason I want to read it, what it is because I want to show you how this thing has gotten integrated into our truth and into literature, to where people just believe, oh, it's okay. It's just a teaching of teaching you higher knowledge or higher power. We've heard that before, right?
Yeah.
And we've heard it in a subtle way. We've heard, even terms that we use, because, and I do believe that you do give off a vibration. And I do believe that we are a people that are full of energy. But the problem comes in is when we start sounding like everybody else.
Right.
You know, because your vibration ain't vibing with me. Really? I thought it was try the Ruach by the Ruach to see, or try the Ruach by the Torah to see if it is of Abba Yahuwah, not by vibrations. Are y'all following me? How we have synchronized and how we have become like the people that are around us. Why? Because we have begun to follow after the power of other people. Now, once again, I know I'm going to step on some toes because we have come to say these things. We have come to accept and become comfortable with these terms. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
You know, when we eat the sun, you know, and these types of things, you have to understand we get our power, once again, from the Abba. Now, I'm not saying that the sun does not give us strength. But what I am saying, and when it is taken out of context, this is when there are problems. Are you following me?
Yes.
Now, once again, we understand you don't eat food. We eat to live, and we don't just eat food just to be eating it. Are you hearing me? You don't live to eat. You eat to live. Yes. So you're not just sitting up there, oh, I got the money to buy it, so I'm going to eat. No, we have a purpose, and there is a structure on how we are to govern and how we are to live our lives according to the instructions he's given unto us. Now, once again, we're going to dive into what is Kabbalah so that we can understand how the rest of the mysticism has come about and how it has infiltrated our people. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
All right. Now, according to this, Kabbalah is difficult to categorize because it is a subjective, non-falsifiable belief system. In other words, it rests in non-verifiable philosophy, not in historic fact. Nevertheless, Kabbalah is a mystical and esoteric system. Now, I want you to read what esoteric means. Does anybody understand what esoteric means? What that word esoteric means? No? Okay. Esoteric. It is intended for or likely to be understood by only a small number of people with a specialized knowledge or interests. So when you get to talking about the esoteric Kabbalah or the Kabbalah in an esoteric way, in other words, it is for a small group of people that can understand this, while the rest of us would be considered ignorant, or those that have an interest in it. Okay? Now, once again, of observing and interpreting the universe and mankind that also seeks to reveal the true relationship between the Abba, man, and the universe. Now, you understand their rendering is going to be God. But I'm going to put the Abba in there because, once again, you must understand many of our people are following after this because they look at this as being not, we won't even say a supplement, but as a foundation to walking in truth. Are you following me?
Yes.
Okay. Now, it teaches that there is a divine being, neither male nor female, that has 10 primary aspects called Sephiroth, which are represented in the tree of life. Now, in this tree of life, this diagram, and I needed to do a diagram, but I'm going to hold this up, and prayerfully everybody will be able to see it. Can you see the diagram? Now, you see the one on the side that looks like a tree? You see it? Can you see it?
Yes.
Can you see it? Can you see it? All right. Now, for my audience, those of you that are sticking with us, at the very top, yes, bring me a little closer. At the very top is the Sephirotic tree. And as you see next to the Sephirotic tree, you see the other emblems, which we will get into hopefully to Layla. But the Sephirotic tree is also connected into the Kabbalah. Now, the Kabbalah teaches that the Supreme Being created the universe through a series of those 10 aspects that descended through various levels until creation was fully realized. Now, mind you, now I'm reading this from what the Kabbalah is, but I'm going to show you where, once again, all these things stemmed from, okay? All right. Now, there are slightly different definitions of the word Kabbalah. One source says it comes from the three Hebrew, KBL, which means reception. Another source says Kabbalah is a word meaning tradition. So you got two meanings, and these meanings, once again, seem harmless, right? It's just a way of helping us to absorb or be more receptive to a theory or a principle. Then you have tradition. In other words, it's just something, it's a tradition that we follow. Kabbalah is also known as Kabbalah, Kabbalah spelled with the Q, etc. You do not have to be Jewish to study Kabbalah, and its proponents states that it can adapt itself to any religious system. Now, once again, right, there's something wrong with that because you have to understand what the Abba has given unto us as a people. All religions can adapt to it. Are you following me? Yeah. It is not one of those universal plugins that anybody can just plug in and go. No. That's not the case. Are you following me?
Yes.
All right. Furthermore, the Kabbalist is supposed to gain understanding about Yahuwah and himself, which they use the term God. By learning to understand these 10 aspects, their relationship to each other, and then apply the principles thus learned in his own life to help him return back to God, Kabbalah teaches the soul's pre-existence. Are y'all following?
Yes.
Sounds like Kemet, doesn't it?
Yes.
Because this is what they believe. Now, once again, you have to understand the reason why I'm using the term, using also interchanging the Abba and also using the title that they use is so that we can understand how this has been basically slid into our belief practices and into our way of life. I am not using it because the name of Abba Yahuwah is interchangeable with God. That is not what I want for us to believe. But I want to read it so that we can understand the basis of it and where it has derived from when we get to that place, but so that you can understand what the meaning of Kabbalah is. And then when we talk about the esoteric Kabbalah, those that a small number that can understand it or those that are interested in it. So that means that many people that are following in it really don't understand the concept and understand the principle or the basis of this teaching. Are y'all following?
Yes.
All right, we're going to read a little more. Excuse me. Kabbalah is the way of viewing reality based upon subjective, experiential interpretations of the world, life, death, creation, meaning, purpose, etc. It is an inner contemplative movement and is considered to be a way of life. Are y'all following?
Yes.
So people that are practicing and following under this principle or under this guise believe that it's just a way of life. Are you following me?
Yes.
All right. Kabbalah relies heavily on mystical interpretations of the first 5 books of the Torah: Bereshit, Shema, Vayikra, Bamidbar, and Devarim, as well as the rest of the first covenant. Its premises are that there are secret and hidden meanings in the biblical text that can be discovered by examining the shape of Hebrew letters, the gematria of words, the mathematical values, and how these word values relate to each other. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Whenever you start mixing and you start trying to be a chemist, if you don't know what ingredients to mix in, you're going to create some poison or a toxin. And this is what this has created for our people. It is toxic, and it is not of the Abba. Once again, I said many people will not accept it, and that is great with me. But the bottom line is, I want you to listen before you shut it down. He told us not to follow what? After the power of the people which are round about you. It's important that we understand that. Now, the problem is that this method often draws conclusions that are in contradiction to the plain teaching of the text that it examines. Thus, Kabbalah can have a variety of disjointing beliefs. This is why David A. Cooper, A Kabbalah says Kabbalah does not lend itself to a straightforward definition or even a clear-cut history. It teaches us about the mysteries of life, how the creation works, where we are going, and how we get there. Now, if we already know what we're supposed to do and how we're supposed to do it, then there is no reason for us to try to have supplements to supplement our way in this walk. Are you following me?
Yes.
If you have a full course meal, you don't need anything else on the side, because anything else on the side now is just going to be extra that is not healthy. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
You eat a full course meal. You have your rice, your vegetables, your meats. Are you hearing me? Then you go and say, well, now I want a Big Mac. I want some pizza to go with that. That's gluttony. Now you miss the purpose of eating. Once again, you don't live to eat. You eat to what? Live. We get knowledge. Why? Because knowledge increases. But watch this. The right type of knowledge helps us to develop and grow. The wrong type of knowledge takes us off the path of unrighteousness and causes us to be grabbing onto any and every other thing that comes our way. Now, once again, where does Kabbalah come from? And this is a man who was a Kabbalist. Mr. Cooper, in his book, God is a Verb, asks, what is it that the Kabbalists receive? And from whom do they receive it? Mr. Cooper's questions are extremely important, especially since Kabbalistic theology is unbiblical. Are you hearing me? It is unbiblical. It teaches reincarnation, a type of karma, inner divinity, and no need for a redeemer. Indeed, we must ask, where does the Kabbalists and the Kabbalists of history get their information? They get it from the Zohar or the Zohar and the Sefer Zitra, which are essentially mystical commentaries and interpretations of the biblical text as written and recorded by various Kabbalists throughout history. Are y'all following me?
Yeah.
Once again, it is important that we understand whenever you're dealing with commentaries and whenever you're dealing with any type of information, if you are doing research, anything that you are researching, especially if you are digging in, trying to find stuff that is going to upset it, if you go along the lines of the theories of people, it's not going to speak against it. It's going to support it. Just like Christianity has its commentaries. Those commentaries done by John Wesley, John Calvinist, I think that's his name. Yeah, John Wesley, and the Calvinists. And then when you find other ones like Marcion, Eusebius, and Constantine, whenever you find writings and whenever you find different things that are speaking of them, if you go back into the teachings of Christianity, you're not going to find anything that's going to talk negative about their way of life. It is going to support it. Right. So you have to find that which opposes and uncovers these type of teachings. Are you following me?
Yes.
In other words, you have to keep digging and digging till you get what? Till you get gold. Till you hit that pocket. To where out of 20 people, you might have 2 people that will come against it. Why? Because those people have made up in their minds that this ain't the way. This is not true. And I'm not going to try to graft it in and make it true because it sounds like it's true. And because it gives, you that sense of, hey, I can control this type, thing. And I can speak highly of this because this kind of gives me that edge. Are you following me?
Yes.
It's very important that we understand this. Now, nevertheless, are we to conclude that the philosophy taught through Kabbalah is of rightness? If it contradicts both the first covenant and the second covenant teaching, then how can it be from Abba Yahuwah? We conclude that it is not from Abba Yahuwah, but it is in reality yet another deception that proceeded out. Are you hearing me? The Garden of Eden, where Shaitan said, you will be like what? Power. Once again, this is one theory. Now, there are a lot of theories. We're going to cover this one, and then we're going to go back and jump back over to where I was. But I want us to see that there are many theories out there, and there are many definitions and many people that are promoting it, as well as those that are saying, hey, this is not right. And if you are walking in truth, you cannot gravitate to it and hold on to it. Because if you hold on to it, the more you hold on to it and fight for it, the less you're going to hold on and fight for the other. Because you can't serve two masters. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
All right. Let's see. All right. Kabbalists claim to receive their mystical interpretations of reality from beyond themselves. The more you read Kabbalistic writings, the more you will see that it is mystical and unbiblical. You will also discover that the philosophy cannot be verified. In other words, there is no historical fact that verifies Kabbalah. It borrows heavily from the account written in the first 5 books of the Torah, or the first of the Torah. But it also radically interprets so many events and so many concepts in the Torah that it is quite foreign from what the word or the Torah of Yahuwah actually says. Now, I'm going to show you some of the phrases, phrases. These are some of the phrases used in the books that teach Kabbalah, and notice their ambiguity and New Age feel. Connection with other realities. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Contemplative exercises. Mystical awareness. Higher awareness. The worlds of awareness integrate along a continuum. Higher and lower realms of consciousness. Unification of the finite with the infinite. Energy of darkness. Cosmic fluctuation. Inherent light of consciousness. Practicing Kavana, awareness of the implications of everything we do. The path to awareness. Mystical academy. Are you following me?
Yes.
These are theories and these are platforms that are taught. And what our people ended up doing was taking these things, repackaging it, and selling it. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to read a little bit more of this, then we'll go and I'm going to show you something else. These kinds of phrases are unverifiable and subjective and have no inherent meaning apart from assigned philosophical interpretations given to them by Kabbalah literature. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Listen at this. Furthermore, the phrases are highly reminiscent of New Age teaching that also exalts humanity to the level of divinity, teaches esoteric knowledge. In other words, as I read the definition of esoteric, it is intended for or likely to be understood by only a small number of people with the specialized knowledge or interest. So that means when you talk about an esoteric knowledge, it's only a select few know what you're talking about. And this is why we have to be careful, because many people are putting out these different platforms. Well, see, this was found, and see, these are the only ones know about that. Let's be careful of that. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Now listen what it says. Secrets of the universe, and also tries to unravel the mystical relationship between Yahuwah, the universe, and ourselves, all based on subjective interpretations of the writings. This is why it's important. Now, once again, the reason why I'm reading to you about the Kabbalah, because we're going to get into the real main subject. I was talking about the chakras, and I wanted to be sure that before I just went hog wild about this and accepted it and opened up my ruach concerning it, I need to find something that gives me a valid right to claim this. If I can't find it in the writings that's going to give me a positive response to it, then I need to make sure before I go grabbing it that it's for me. And that's not what I found. Are you following me? But I'm following this, showing us in the Kabbalah, because you have to understand all this follows under the mysticism of Judaism. Are y'all following? Yes. Now, I want to read you another one. This is 3 stages, but I'm not going to read all of this, but I just want to show you everybody that there is more than one interpretation of the Kabbalah. What is Kabbalah? It is important to realize that the Kabbalah is more about losing ourselves than about finding, becoming more other-centered and less ego-centered. The literal translation of the word Kabbalah is that which is received. Remember, I told you it is 2 definitions: receive, and then there's another one, tradition. To receive, we must be receptive. We must open ourselves, creating a vessel in which to absorb that which we wish to understand or grasp, and in turn become part of Kabbalah. To open the self to a higher reality, to view the spirit within the matter, to raise our consciousness to the point where our perception of reality is completely changed, and the divine within all creation is revealed. Now, to many people, I say, well, what's the problem with that? The problem comes in as you have to understand. He did not give it to us to follow that or to get to know him in that manner.
That's right.
Am I correct?
Yes.
He did not. So now we're going to go into this. I showed it and I'm going to show it again. This is what it looks like. This is when you talk about the Kabbalah, the Sephirotic tree. And this when we get to talking about the chakras. You start looking at the Sephirotic tree so everybody can see. Okay? You saw it?
Yes.
All right. Once again, bringing it live to you so that you can see and can discern what is right and what is wrong. This is the Sephirotic tree, and over it has Kabbalah, esoteric forces. Then you have the tree of life. This is what they said the tree of life looked like. When you see the 7 chakras and you see the yogi with serpents, you see each one of these chakras, and you see the Kundalinian yoga, the mysticism of rabbinic Judaism. Are you following me?
Yes.
All right, now this other one, hold it back up there because I want to show them this too, because we're going to get into this one first. Hindu Trinity, Shiva, star, crescent, Bahama, and Vishnu. These are things that we're going to look at briefly on this Layla. But I wanted to show you where these things stem from. So as I began to read, you will understand and be receptive to what is being said here on this Layla. Once again, I know we as a people, we are hungry and thirsty after what? True uprightness. But remember in Matthew 5:8, Yahushua himself said, he that hungers after uprightness shall be what? Shall be filled. So we are supposed to be hungry for what? Uprightness, not just for what? Power or knowledge. Our knowledge has to have a basis. Because if you're just hungry for power, guess what? You're going to get it.
Right.
But it's not going to be from the Abba.
Right.
That's why many of our people have been caught and have been led astray, because they are only hungry and thirsty after a higher power or a higher knowledge, which leads to deception and leads from the path of uprightness. He already told us, if you're hungry for uprightness, I'll fill you. I'll feed you. That's what this is what we call clean eats. The rest of it, you don't want to fool with it. All right, now, note the crescent, which I showed you, and star in the Hindu Amen symbol above. The crescent and star symbol has sexual meaning that is part of Hinduism's 3 principles of creation, sustenance, and destruction. We do not bow down to symbols or objects representing the host of Shemayim. Many cultures adopted the star worship of Babel, Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz. The Hindu Trinity models these 3 as Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. The crescent is Shiva, the destroyer. You ever seen the star and the crescent, and you see the sword in the form of a crescent and the star over it? That's why, because most of the time, this is the symbol also of Islam. When you see that crescent and that star, meaning that when you see that, and if it's plastered up somewhere, they went into that territory and took it by force. You have to understand, everything they do, they're driven to by certain things. The star is his wife, Shakti, avatar of Parvati. The crescent and star symbol is an ancient artifact. Hinduism perpetuates the worship of the host of Shemayim, Nimrod's star worship. As waves of Eastern thought steadily flowed westward, it infected the teachings of the Yehudim, as they also began to worship the host of Shemayim. Now let's look at Acts 7:42. Now, once again, the reason I read that, because I want you to understand the basis of these things. Are you hearing me? The theory and the teaching of Kabbalah. Now, all of us know about that, the Stephania. and that how Stephania was one who was a young deacon, and he was one who opposed the Pharisees, Sadducees, and he opposed the high priest because of their doctrines and because of the things that they stood for. Once again, we have to find it in the writing. 7 and 42.
And it is so.
And it is so. Read that for me. Oh.
And it is so. Verse 42 reads, but Yahuwah turned away and gave them over to worship of the Shemayim bodies. This agrees with what is written in the book of the prophets. Did you bring me sacrifices and offerings 40 years in the desert, O house of Yasheral? And it is so.
And it is so. Now, I'm going to read it again, and I'm going to read verse 43 with it. So power turned and gave them up to worship the host of the Shemayim. Now, once again, this is a curse. This was punishment to worship the stars of Shemayim. This is why it's important that we are not stargazers, or that we don't follow up behind the zodiac. Because that's what they did. Now listen what he says. As it has been written in the book of the prophets. Now the book of the prophets, talking about the prophetic books that these things were recorded in. And you can see Yashiyah, Jeremiah, Obadiah, Malachi, all of them. You can on and on. You can find in the writings where the Abba constantly rebuked and chastised the children of Yasheral through the prophets, and prophesying and warning them of the danger of doing what they were doing, but they would not listen. Like I said, many people are not going to like it, and that's fine. But it's important that we bring exposure. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Now listen what he says. He says, did you bring slaughtered beasts and offerings to me during 40 years in the wilderness, O house of Yasheral? Now he's asking the question. Now listen to that 43. And you took up the tent of Molech and the star of your mighty one, Kiyan, images which you made to bow before them. Therefore I shall remove you beyond Babel. Therefore I shall remove you beyond Babel. Are you following me? Now, the reason he got on them is because they were doing this here. And if we're not careful, we will end up doing the same thing by following under things that seem innocent and seem like there's no harm to it, when in actuality it is. Now, listen at this. The Arabian Peninsula was affected long before Muhammad. 360 deities were worshipped in a square-shaped Hindu shrine at Old Makkah, now called Mecca. One of these deities eventually became the greatest, and his symbol was the crescent, Shiva, and star Shakti. Shiva is known as the destroyer. Kabbalah, aka Kabbalah, the mysticism of rabbinic Judaism. This subject concerns teachings, not people. Are you hearing? Teaching that people have adapted to, and have grabbed and created and caused it to be their own. Are you following?
Yes.
When we learn the things concerning our behavior, it's our responsibility to test them with the word, the Torah. Kabbalah is the study of how to receive fulfillment. Advocates say it is the secret method to connect to forces to attain fulfillment. As I read to you the different definitions and brought to you the definitions by many of those that some are Kabbalists themselves, and some of them are uprooting the very teaching of Kabbalah, have said many things. It is, there's one definition that it means reception, and it means tradition. Are you following me? And we're going to see both reception and tradition as we continue to walk in this. Now, you have to understand the forces awake. The dark father, spiritual wickedness. When we go into Ephesians, let's look at Ephesians chapter 6, and we're going to look at verses 11 and 12. Once again, very important for us to recognize the plot and the plan of the enemy to upset us and to keep us walking in disobedience. Now, you have to understand, when you come out of a system that all you did was walk in disobedience, you come to a point in your life that you are more. Now, when I use the word conscious, I'm talking about aware of, I don't want to go back into this. And I don't want to be beguiled by another form of deception. Are you following me?
Yes.
So that means we have to be on our what? We have to be on our toes. We have to be in a position that we are not lacking, because the enemy is always there to pounce upon us. He's never going to give it up. He's going to always be there to find a loophole and to find a way to get us ensnared in these situations. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Now, I'm not against higher learning, but higher learning from what? The Torah.
God.
Not anything else. You know, trying to find our higher self and, you know, that unlock that consciousness. And people talking about third eyes. Get out of here. You don't have but two. And because you have a pineal gland, thank you, pineal gland, many people believe that you're supposed to use it. Now, many people get that also misconstrued when they hear about Yaakov. When Yaakov was in Bereshit, I believe it was in the 32nd, between the 32nd and the 34th chapter of Bereshit, when he went into a sleep and the Abba appeared to him, and he used the phrase that Yahuwah has appeared to him in the pineal, that he appeared to him, that many believe that he was speaking from a pineal gland. He was not. That is also a location. It is a geographical location. And so he was referring to that place and not a gland that is in his head that gave him a third eye, which caused him to be more conscious. Now understand, the reason there's a problem with that is that now you remove the Ruach HaKodesh from her position and being the one that does what? Teach us. Brings to us the spiritual aspects of this walk. Because if you have a third eye, why do you need the Ruach HaKodesh? Are you following me?
Yes.
Very important. Be open to listen and receive now. Very important. All right, now let's look at chapter 6, verses 11 and 12.
And it is so.
And it is so. All right, come on.
Ephesians chapter 6, verse 10 to 11 through 12.
Mm-hmm.
Put on the full armor of Yahuwah so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. And it is so.
And it is so. Now let's look at two things here real quickly. Put on the complete armor of Yahuwah for you to have power to stand against the schemes of the devil. Shaitan. Now, if I leave this armor on, that means without that armor, I'm gonna fall for his what? I'm gonna fall for his schemes. Because I don't have anything to protect me. So watch this. If I don't have that armor on, you know when you are not protected. So what's going to happen? I'm going to start seeking for a false or a substitute style or type of armor to protect me, which causes us to fall into many troubles, because this is not authorized by our Yahuwah. Because we do not wrestle against what? Flesh and blood, but against principalities, against authorities, against the world rulers of the darkness of this age, against Ruach-like entities of wickedness in the heavenlies, demonic forces. Are you all following me?
Yes.
This is very important for us to understand, because many times people don't believe that we deal with demonic spirits. And it is important we understand, because they have a doctrine. Remember in the writings, he tells us, I believe it's in Thessalonica, where he says, in the latter days, many will give heed to seducing spirits and what? Doctrines of devils. Doctrines, a belief system that is fortified in demonic theory or belief. So it's important that we understand and that we follow and watch. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
All right, we're going to cover a few more points. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
All right. Now, the force is awake. In truth, the force is already very much awake, and we wrestle against it in the strength of Yahuwah's armor. Once again, put on the complete armor of power for you to have power to stand against the schemes of the devil. Because we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against authorities, against the world rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual matters of wickedness in the heavenlies. Ephesians 6:11 and 12. Its secrets are intended to be understood only by a small number of people with a specialized knowledge. Now, once again, now you have basically what has happened is that now you got a group of people that are singled out that says, don't nobody understand this but us. Because we have the 411 on it. We have the knowledge on it that nobody else has. And guess what? Many times people don't have that knowledge and don't want to put their hands on that knowledge because many times we don't know what it is unless the Abba is calling us to uncover it. Are you following me?
Yes.
Okay. Now, listen to what it says. Kabbalah is a mystical interpretation of inner meanings in the Torah and oral traditions of the Abbas. Once again, I'm going to read that again. Kabbalah is a mystical interpretation of inner meanings in the Torah and oral traditions of the Abbas. Remember, I told you Kabbalah means what? Reception and tradition. It emerged 700 years after Islam with the publication of the Zohar. The Zohar is the chief Kabbalah text which directs Torah study along 4 levels of interpretation, borrowed from Hinduism's guru known by the acronym. Now, y'all have to understand, I live by this. The part is by the acronyms. Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
Many times, once again, and I'm going to show you how this, once again, has infiltrated in our literature and our way of life, because it is steeped in Judaism. Are you following me?
Yes.
Judaism. All right. Now, remember we would say the Peshat, simple surface meaning. Remez, hinted. Drash, search. Sud, hidden. These are all codes, and these things are all steeped in the mysticism. Are you following me?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Zohar means splendor and first appeared in Spain in the 13th century, published by Moses de Leon. Interest in it exploded during the 16th century through Rab Isaac Luria. He promoted the Zohar, echoing Leon's claim that the thoughts were based on the writings of a first century rabbi, Shimon bar Yochai, under the inspiration of Eliyahu, the prophet. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
All it takes is for people to put something in there that kind of stirs or makes us believe, hey, they said that, so maybe this is valid. Maybe this is truth. Because he said the prophet told him this. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Focusing on mystical concepts, Kabbalah reached its height in the later Middle Ages among the Hasidim. It involves esoteric, secret ciphers, which are codes. What does that sound like? Ciphers. The cipher, the cipher, cipher. Mm-hmm. It means what? Codes. It means codes. Yeah, it means codes. I'm going to read this again. It involves esoteric, secret, ciphers, I'm talking about ciphers, which means codes. An approach to scripture directly condemned by Yahush in Luke 8. In Luke 8. Let's go to Luke 8. This is why it is important, are y'all following me?
Yes.
That we be careful of what we accept, because we think it's going to give us the edge and give us one up. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Very important, because sometimes when you begin to look at certain things, it is not my desire to ever try to be one up on anybody. Are you following me? Or to try to have something nobody else knows about. I want to make sure that what he's giving me, that it can be verified. Because you have to allow, let every word or let every word of the Abba be established by what? 2 to 3 witnesses. There has to be witnesses. If there are no witnesses, it's important. Now, even he followed that even in, when we look in Yehukanan, Aleph 5, chapter 5, remember the 3 witnesses. He's not going to tell us to do something that he didn't do. Remember, the witness for Yahush is what? the water, the blood, and the ruach. 3 witnesses. So there has to be an establishment of the witness that this is valid and that this is true. If there are no witnesses to its purpose and to it being for us, then we have no business engaging in it. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
All right, now in chapter 8, we're going to look at let's look at let's start at verse 1, and we're going to read. Let's read all the way to verse 23. Yeah. Because we need all of it. But I want to just read to verse 23, dealing with the parables. All right. And it is so. Okay. You want to come on? You can read for me. Let's read 7 verses for me.
And it came to be afterward that he went through every city and village, proclaiming and bringing the good news of the reign of power. And the 12 were with him. And certain women who were healed of wicked spirits and sicknesses, Miriam, called from Magdala, out of whom had come 7 demons, and Johanan, wife of Chuza, manager of Herodes, and Shoshanan, and many others were provided for him from their resources. And when a large crowd had gathered, and those who were coming to him from every city, he spoke by a parable. A sower went out to sow his seed, and as he sowed, some indeed fell by the wayside, and it was trodden down, and the birds of the heaven devoured it. And other fell on rock, and when it grew up, it withered, because it had no moisture. And others fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up with it and choked it. And it was so.
And it was so. Come on. Mm-hmm.
Verse 8. And other fell on the great soil and grew up and yielded a crop 100-fold. Having said this, he cried, He who has ears to hear, let him hear. And his taught ones were asking him, saying, What does this parable mean? And he said, To you it has been given to know the secrets of the reign of power, but to the rest in parables, that seeing they do not see, and hearing they do not understand. And this is the parable. The seed is the word of Yahuwah.
Mm-hmm.
And those by the wayside are the ones who hear. Then the devil comes and takes away the word from their hearts, lest having believed they should be saved. And those on the rock are those who, when they hear, receive the word with joy. And these have no root, who believe for a while, and in time of trial fall away. And that which fell among thorns are those who, when they have heard, go out and are choked with worries and riches and pleasures of life, and bring no fruit to perfection. And it is so.
And it is so. All right, let's read.
Verse 15. But the seed on the great soil stands for those with a noble and great heart, who hear the word, retain it, and by persevering produce a crop.
Mm-hmm.
No one lights a lamp and hides it in a jar, or puts it under a bed. Instead, he puts it on a stand so that those who come in can see the light. For there is nothing hidden that will not be disclosed, nothing concealed that will not be known or brought out into the open. Therefore, consider carefully how you listen. Whoever has will be given more. Whoever does not have, even what he thinks he has. Now Yahush, mother and brothers came to see him, but they were not able to get near him because of the crowd. Someone told him, Your Ima and brothers are standing outside wanting to see you. Verse 21. He replied, My Ima and brothers are those who hear Yahuwah's word and put it into practice. And one day Yahush said to his disciples, Let's go over to the boat on the side of the lake. So they got into a boat and set out. As they sailed, he fell asleep. A squall came down on the lake, so that the boat was being swamped and they were in great danger. And it is so.
And it is so. Now let's read 25 and verse 24 to 25, please.
The disciples went and woke him, saying, Master, Master, we're going to drown. He got up and rebuked the wind and the raging waters, and the storm subsided, and all was calm. Where is your belief? He asked his disciples. In fear and amazement they asked one another, Who is this? He commands even the winds and the water, and they obey him. Verse 26.
25.
And it is so.
And it is so. Now, you think, well, how does this focus on him condemning this approach? Now, let's look at verse 15. And that on the great soil are those who, having heard the word with a noble and great heart, retain it and bear fruit with endurance. And no one having lit a lamp, covers it with a vessel or puts it under a bed, but he puts it on a lampstand so that those coming to see the light, for whatever is hidden shall be revealed, and whatever is secret shall be known and come to light. The name was hidden and kept secret. Are y'all following?
Yes.
This is why our people struggle with a lot of trying to figure out what the name is, because you had those after the Babylonian captivity, many of them forgot the name or forgot how to pronounce it. And because they forgot how to pronounce it, you have many of those that were of the Masoret. They are the ones that put the vowel point. And because they put the vowel point there, now you have different pronunciations. This is how you get the O sound, and this is how you get different sounds, and this is why we struggle. But when you remove the vowel points and you pronounce it the way it's supposed to be pronounced, this is how you get the name Yahuwah, not Ahawashai and not Yahuwashai or Yahuwah. How do you say it? Yahuwah? Right. That's not how you get it. Why? Because the reason these names are altered and can be basically changed is because of vowel points. It's just like when you read a word in this manner. And many would say, well, it's because of your region. No, it has nothing to do with your region. It has to do with vowel points and how you are taught. When we were in California, we didn't say we said the. When we went south, we said the in California. When we went down south, they said the. So we're saying, no, that's not how you pronounce THE. You pronounce it the. But they made the E long. They said the. There's nothing to make the E long. So they would say the, but it was because of their teaching. Many would say, well, it's because they were down south. Well, I could say that too, but then I would beg to differ. It is how they were taught how to pronounce it. Are you hearing me? And so when we got there, we read and we sounded differently because we pronounced our letters and our words differently. In D, there are no vowel points. The only vowel is E, right? You follow me?
Yes.
So there's nothing there to make it long. Am I right?
Yes.
So it's what? The. E makes it long, right?
Yes.
E. Are you following me? So once again, when you begin to look at the different types of teachings and the different types of pronunciation, this is how we get the different pronunciations. They went and put vowel points. There are no vowel points in the beginning. Are there vowels? There are vowels just as well as there are consonants. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
And you pronounce them, but not like how they put it into practice to pronounce it. And this, once again, is how you get the different sounds because of vowel points. Am I making sense?
Yes.
Now, once again, when the rabbis and the scribes and the Sadducees and all of them at certain points kept it a secret because they felt like when they were in the Babylonian captivity, because they were called, they were basically called the Yahoos. They were being made fun of. And so because they were being made fun of, they preferred not to use the name. So they said, we will not use the name. The only time that they would ever give credence or give allowance to use the name was during the feast. Now watch this. If you stop keeping the feast, you stop what? Calling his name. And eventually you will, because once you lose a person's name, you basically forget about them. You stop dealing with them. You forget everything about them. And so this is what happened. And so when time began to progress and things began to come back into form and into shape, what did they do? They said, well, hey, we're going to help it out. We're going to make sure we can pronounce it right. We're going to put vowel points to it. And this is how you get the different sounds. Now, once again, they kept it hidden. And this is what this is referring to. Now, how is it that he is dealing with this when it comes to certain things? Now, when he says to them, he awoke and rebuked the wind and the raging of the water, and they ceased, and there came a calm, and he said to them, where is your belief? Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Now listen what they said. And they were afraid and marveled, saying to one another, who then is this that he even commands the winds and water, and they obey him? You've been walking with him. You have seen him do different miracles, and yet it has still not manifested or even been made a reality to you who he is.
Right.
Are y'all following me?
Yes.
So now, once again, this is the question that I pose to many of us. As we've been walking with the Abba, and as we've been learning him and learning about his son, Yahushua HaMashiach, are we still walking this close, so we say, with him, and still don't understand the purpose of the Mashiach in our lives? Mm-hmm. This is important for us to understand. Once again, he was getting on them because of their style. Now, you have to understand, they were looking for him, but they were also, you have to know, also, they were also exposed to these types of teaching. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Judaism. They were exposed to that, just like we were exposed to Christianity. And that is why we do not bring over into this walk the way and the lifestyle of Christianity. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
All right. Now, once again, looking at those acronyms. Rashad, simple surface meaning. Remez, hinted, drash, search, sued, hidden. So if you don't know these things, then that means that you are blinded. Are you following me? And so those of us that understood that said, well, they don't know what they're talking about, because if you don't understand it's a hidden meaning, then you're just exposing it and you don't know what you're talking about. Are you hearing me? Yeah. Or if it's something for the future and you expose it, or you think you're exposing it, you don't know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Did not the writing say that it is not a private interpretation? Yes. And if he said that we're not supposed to hide it, now understand what I'm about to say here. Just because you read it does not mean that right off you will have the understanding. Mm-hmm. But watch this. It's not hidden or private. Mm-hmm. It means that in his timing, he will reveal it to you. Yes. But not hidden to the point where you have to go and get somebody to unlock what is being said. This is the important point that I want to bring out and drive home. Very important. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
All right. Now, very important. Now, Kabbalah has evolved into new forms among Christians, New Age, and occultists. I'm going to read this and then we're going to pray. The Kabbalist teachers yoke or teachings allows his student access to higher level interpretations through so-called secret codes. This is why we have to be careful. That is why I read the pardes, which are secret what? Codes. These are codes. And this is why we have to be careful in what we invest in. Once again, I'm here to expose you to the truth and expose you to the things that we need not. If he said even a fool could understand, then why do we need somebody to decode it for us? We're not fools, right?
No.
All right. To young, we hear about codes being discovered, exploiting the curiosity of allegory-seeking individuals. In other words, I found something you have no idea about. Why? Because there was a code hidden, and he gave me to be able to decipher it. He gave me to be able to unlock it. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Listen what he says. Yahush contrasted his yoke with theirs. He says, take my yoke, teaching upon you, and learn from me. For I am meek and humble in heart, and you shall find rest for your beings. For my yoke is gentle and my burden is light. Matthew 11:29 and 30. The Kabbalah student looks upon his teacher as his exalted one. Hence the title Rabbi, my exalted one, comes into play. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
This is so important for us as a people to recognize. I'm going to say this. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, and then we'll come back and hit it again. We're going to read a little bit more, and then we're going to pray. He said a covering. Now, I understand when it comes to that part, but nowhere does he say that you are not supposed to sit under a mora or a more. You need no man cover you, because no man can cover you except Yahushua Mashiach, because it's his blood that covers us. Are y'all following me? So I understand the wording, and I understand the concept of that, because none of us can cover anybody, but we can lead and guide through the Ruach, just as Moshe did. Are you hearing me? Yes. Just as Deborah did, just as others did by the Ruach, to lead and guide those that are walking in truth. Very important. All right, now, Rabbinical Judaism. Question, what is the leaven or yeast of the Pharisees? The answer, Rabbinic Judaism, the traditions of the fathers. Now, one will say, well, what are the traditions of the fathers? Remember, reception, tradition, Kabbalah, in all of its aspects. Are you following?
Yes.
All right. Where did the idea of rabbi come from? A guide to reach fulfillment, or guru, came from the culture of Hinduism. This reached the Middle East about the 2nd century BCE. It came from India by way of the trade route known as the Silk Road, yoking with forces to achieve higher chakra levels and 4 levels of interpretation. Both originate from Hinduism. Moshe, Daniel, and all other prophets never mentioned the rabbi. Are y'all following me? So when you start dealing in chakras, that's a problem because of where it originates from. Are you following me?
Yes.
Now somebody would say, but we are people of power. Yes, we are. We are a people full of these things. But watch this. Just because we are does not mean we're supposed to major on that. We're not supposed to. Because the moment you start majoring on these things, that's when you start taking and making that minor, which the Abba has given unto us. Mm-hmm. Very important for us to understand. Are y'all hearing?
Yes.
All right. Now this is Shakut Baku. This are teachers trying to convince you of codes, numerical secrets, higher levels of knowledge, or that you need the covering of another enlightened man? At Yahush's return, all rabbis but one will become extinct. If they are never mentioned in scripture nor be around after Yahushua returns, why are people pretending they need the covering of a man? Now, once again, he said covering. And there's only one that can cover us, and that is Yahushua. But he didn't say that you didn't need a teacher. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
That is important. He never said you didn't need a Mora or a More. Very important to understand. Yahushua is our covering, and his blood redeems us completely. Rabbi Shaul referred to his former way of living in Yehudism, the traditions of the Abbas, Galatians 1 and 13. Let's turn there real quick. Which was the way of the rabbi called Rabbinical Judaism to Yam. Let's look at Galatians 1 and 13. Y'all with me?
Yes.
All right.
It is so.
Read that for me, please.
Luke chapter 1, verse 13. For you have heard of my previous way of life in Judaism,
Mm-hmm.
how intensely I persecuted the congregation of Yahuwah and tried to destroy it.
Again.
For you have heard of my previous way of life in Judaism, how intensely I persecuted the congregation of Yahuwah and tried to destroy it.
And it is so. Another reading. For you have heard of my former way of life in Yehudism, how intensely I persecuted the assembly of Yahuwah and ravaged it. The teachings, he was going off of what he was taught. So you can imagine, he was going and killing people. He was going and passing out basically warrants for people to be murdered because of what he allowed somebody else to interpret for him what the writings meant. Now, once again, this is not saying that people don't need teachers, because you do. But we only have one covering. Are you following me?
Yes.
Very important for us to understand that. All right, now we're going to look at this, and then we're going to pray. The term rabbi is not found in the Tanakh. Mysticism. Knowledge is considered vital to enable one to reach awareness or perfection. This is why they came against Yahush, because of the Gnosticism or the Gnostic teaching. Are you following me? Because they could not obtain and they could not accept him being flesh, blood, and ruach. They couldn't accept that. Now let's listen at this. The Eastern philosophy of Hinduism teaches a method or path, dharma, path of uprightness, that leads a person out of the karmic cycle of reincarnation into nirvana, nothingness. Now I'm sure we've heard this before, some of us. Once again, these are the philosophies. The goal of oblivion is the essence of Eastern philosophy, and the transcendental state is represented by the sky blue skin of their many deities. You remember, and every time we go in and buy certain things from the certain places, you see the color of the skin is what? Blue. The Superman blue skin. This group called, what was the name of that group?
Blue Man Group.
The Blue Man Group, yeah. The Blue Man Group, they were into all that. They were into mysticism and even in the Kabbalah. So many people, they represented these different things with this. So when you see this kind of stuff, this is what it means. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Very important for us to understand. And we're going to stop here, and Yahuwah willing, we're going to pick it back up. And we're going to take it up next week. Once again, Yahuwah willing. So that we can hear the conclusion to this matter, and that we do not find ourselves, and if we have found ourselves in this, that we denounce it, denounce it and get out of it, and not continue to walk in it and uphold its principles, because its tentacles and principles are not of the Abba. Once again, it's very important that we understand, and you're going to find out once we read more how it basically became intergrained and how it became a part of our people, because many things we say out of ignorance, and we just follow up behind other people because we think, okay, if they're saying it, then it must not be a problem. I mean, they still kicking and doing, but we have to be careful of the very things we pick up and accept. Why? Because many things we accept, many times people accept it and pick it up themselves and don't know its roots. And we just began to follow it. Are you following me? The highest power, the highest way of learning is studying. Did he not say study? And did he not say to study it, isn't it in Timotheus 2:15?
Yes.
And he said, study to show thyself approved unto I'll be a who work, but that need not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. How do we rightly divide it? That means studying and allowing the Ruach HaKodesh to minister to us. We don't need any outside forces or powers to enlighten us to something they are dark concerning. And it's not accepted. So it's very important that we understand, once again, bringing you the truth and wanting to make sure that anything we are doing, that it is acceptable and it is approved of the Abba, because if it is not, then we will find ourselves on the outside trying to look in, and instead of us improving our way of life, we will make our life worse. And because we are Habil, it is important that we study and that we seek the truth and not just accept what has been handed over to us. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
As I was in there studying and talking to the Abba, I didn't transition or come out of one place of deception and error to walk into this and to find myself in another place of error and deception. And when you are determined to live right, then you're going to follow the steps that lead you to uprightness. And when there is when it is in our ruach, and we know that you're speaking to me, Abba, because you want me to get the handle of this, and I've always had that feeling, even though I was, I felt like, okay, hey, this may not, this might just be valid, but there was still that part of me that said, before you jump in with both feet, get an understanding. And I even also told you all, those of us that were looking at it, and we're still looking into it because we still have not finished this, before you just grab a hold of it completely, let us do our research, and not just our research, but let us fast and pray on this thing. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
So that we don't find ourselves being misled because we want to grab onto something else. Don't you know that Abba Yahuwah is more than enough? Even though they sung it in another way, they said Jehovah Jireh. We know that that's not the right name, but we know Abba Yahuwah, you are more than enough for me. You are more than enough. And so it is important that we maintain that mindset so that we are not tempted to go astray and begin to try to get supplements and try to get, a piece on the side. We don't need that. Are you home?
Yes.
We can do what we have, and it is so. Pray this portion of this lesson has behooved your life, and I pray that you who are willing, you will tune in next week. But willing, we'll be back, and we will continue the conclusion of this matter so that we can get the answers to many of our questions. Are these things right? Are we supposed to follow this? Is it acceptable? Are we supposed to gravitate to these things, and so forth and so on? So I want to encourage you to keep your head up, keep your shoulders squared, and keep your heart and your feet in and upon the Torah, because you can't go wrong when you allow the Abba to do what he has purpose to do in your life, and as he has purpose to do in mine. I am Aliyah Yasheral, and I am the leader of Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom, a Brave Belief congregation located in South Carolina. I want you to remember, here at Messengers of Yahuwah's, a Brave Belief congregation, this is the place where
the Torah does the body excellent.
Until next time, may Abba Yahuwah Baruch atah and keep you in his shalom until we meet again. Also, I want you to remember that you've been touched by Champion TV, a place where the champions reside. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Champion